There is a quiet assumption embedded in the way we search the sky. It hides inside the radio dishes pointed at distant stars, inside the patient algorithms sifting through terabytes of cosmic noise, inside the hopeful arithmetic of the Drake equation scrawled across 1,000 blackboards. The assumption is this: that somewhere out there, right now, another civilization is awake, transmitting, listening, waiting. That the universe is a crowded room and we simply have not learned to hear the conversation yet. That assumption is almost certainly wrong. Not because life is rare, not because the physics of biology forbids it elsewhere, but because of something far more devastating, something that cuts through optimism with the cold, surgical precision of mathematics. The universe is not just vast in space, it is vast in time. And time, indifferent and absolute, may have already rendered the question of contact permanently, irreversibly moot. Consider what 13.8 billion years actually means. Our sun did not ignite until roughly 4.6 billion years ago. That means the universe had already been running for more than 9 billion years before our star even lit up. 9 billion years of stellar nurseries igniting and dying. 9 billion years of galaxies assembling, maturing, and dispersing their heavy elements across interstellar space. 9 billion years in which every physical precondition for complex life existed in other corners of the cosmos, long before the Earth had condensed from its dusty cloud of gas and rock. Now hold that thought and consider this analogy carefully, because it carries the full weight of what we are facing. Imagine a stadium, not a small arena, but a structure of genuinely incomprehensible scale, a sphere of dark space so vast that the light from one end will never reach the other in any useful human lifetime. Inside this stadium, over the course of a single year, billions upon billions of matches are struck. Each one flares briefly, illuminates a tiny fraction of the surrounding dark, and then dies. The burn time of each match is extraordinarily short, perhaps a fraction of a second in the context of the full year. Now, ask yourself the following: what is the mathematical probability that two matches struck anywhere across that unimaginable volume happen to ignite at the very same instant and happen to be close enough that their combined light allows each to perceive the other? The answer is not simply small. It is functionally absurd. This is precisely our situation. Not just across space, but across time. The matches are civilizations. The stadium is the history of the universe. And we are standing here, right now, holding our tiny, fragile flame up in the vast dark, surrounded not by silence, but by the cold, invisible smoke of billions of matches that burned brilliantly and completely, millions and millions of years before we ever existed. The Fermi Paradox is not a puzzle about distance. It is a tragedy of temporal misalignment. To understand why that tragedy is physically inescapable, we need to sit with three profound truths that the laws of physics encode directly into the fate of any civilization that has ever existed or will ever exist. The first truth is this: complex, ordered systems are thermodynamic anomalies, and the universe has no obligation to sustain them. The second law of thermodynamics is not a suggestion. It is not a tendency or a preference. It is a mathematical inevitability woven into the statistical fabric of physical reality. Entropy, the measure of disorder in a closed system, increases always, without exception. A civilization is, from the perspective of thermodynamics, a breathtakingly fragile arrangement of low entropy states. Consider what it means to have a biosphere, sustained and ordered by a steady input of stellar energy, driving the complex biochemical machinery of billions of interacting organisms. Consider layering on top of that a technological civilization, consuming energy at accelerating rates, building structures of staggering informational complexity, maintaining communication networks, spacecraft, infrastructure, all of it representing a local, temporary victory against the relentless statistical tide of disorder. That victory is always temporary. Without access to an infinite or indefinitely renewed energy source, any civilization faces an absolute ceiling. Stars exhaust their nuclear fuel, the accessible energy gradient that powers biology and technology narrows, then collapses. Even a civilization that achieves extraordinary longevity, that solves every internal problem of conflict and disease and resource management, still faces the physics of stellar death, galactic cooling, and the eventual heat death of any bounded region of space-time. The operational lifespan of any civilization, measured against the full timeline of the cosmos, is vanishingly brief. A spark, not a flame. A flare, not a beacon. This is not pessimism, this is thermodynamics. And it means that the window during which any civilization is capable of broadcasting its existence or receiving signals from others is extraordinarily narrow relative to the age of the universe. The second truth cuts even deeper into the structure of cosmological epochs themselves. The universe has not always been the same place. The conditions for complex chemistry, for stable planetary systems, for the biological machinery of life, have shifted dramatically across the 13 billion-year history of the cosmos. In the early universe, shortly after the first generation of stars began to burn, the interstellar medium was stripped almost entirely of the heavy elements that complex chemistry requires. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, the atomic alphabet of biology, did not exist in significant abundance until the first supernovae seeded the cosmos with their processed nuclear material. That enrichment took time, billions of years. But here is the chilling implication that follows directly from this physics. The enrichment process did not suddenly stop or plateau when our solar system formed. It had been proceeding for billions of years before us. Stellar generations before our sun had already lived and died, scattering their heavy element inheritances across the Milky Way. Planetary systems had already assembled around those older stars. And if even a small fraction of those older systems developed the conditions for complex life, then those civilizations would have had a head start measured not in centuries or millennia, but in billions of years. A billion-year head start. Think carefully about what that means in terms of technological development. We have had radio technology for roughly 100 years. We have had spaceflight for less than one human lifetime. A civilization with a billion-year advantage over us would be so far beyond our current comprehension that the comparison is genuinely meaningless. They would not be building rockets, they would be reshaping the energy budgets of stellar systems. And yet, precisely because their stars were older, those civilizations would also have faced the entropy ceiling, the stellar exhaustion, the thermodynamic limits that no technology can ultimately circumvent. They would have flourished and they would have ended, long before our world had solidified from its molten state. We are not early arrivals in a universe waiting to be populated. We may be extraordinarily late arrivals in a universe that already held its grand flourishing and has been cooling and quieting ever since. The peak era of galactic complexity may be behind us. The richest chapter of cosmic civilizational history may already be closed, its protagonists dissolve back into the interstellar medium, their achievements leaving no trace that survives across the timescales involved. We are wandering possibly through a graveyard, and we do not yet have instruments sensitive enough to read the headstones. The third truth brings this temporal tragedy into the concrete language of electromagnetic physics, and it is perhaps the most haunting of all. When a civilization broadcasts a signal, that signal does not stay intact forever. Electromagnetic radiation propagates outward from its source at the speed of light, spreading across an ever-expanding spherical wavefront. As that sphere grows, the energy density of the signal decreases with the square of the distance. A transmission powerful enough to be clearly detectable at 10 light-years becomes vanishingly faint at 100. At 1,000 light-years, it has attenuated to a whisper. At 10,000, it has dissolved, for all practical purposes, into the background radiation of the cosmos itself. The cosmic microwave background, the cold thermal afterglow of the early universe, permeates all of space with a noise floor of extraordinary uniformity. Any signal that has traveled far enough or faded long enough simply vanishes into that floor. It becomes indistinguishable from the ancient hum of the universe itself. Now consider the geometry of what this means for ancient civilizations. If a technological species arose 3 billion years ago around a star in the Milky Way, and they broadcast radio signals for even 100,000 years before their civilization ended, Those signals would now be distributed across an expanding shell of electromagnetic radiation with a radius of 3 billion light-years, a shell that has grown so thin, so attenuated, so diluted across the geometry of an expanding universe that detecting it from Earth would require an instrument of literally impossible sensitivity. The light we receive from the nearest stars shows us those stars as they were just years ago. The light from distant galaxies shows us those galaxies as they were billions of years in the past. When we look at the night sky with our most powerful telescopes, we are not seeing the universe as it is. We are seeing an archive, a layered record of the past, assembled from photons that departed their sources before multicellular life existed on Earth. The ruins of civilizations that perished before the Cambrian explosion are, for all physical purposes, invisible to us. Their electromagnetic signatures have spread and thinned across distances our instruments cannot bridge. Their planetary systems have aged beyond the point of obvious technological markers. Their stellar hosts have evolved, dimmed, or died. They are present only as statistical possibilities, as regions of phase space that the universe has already visited and departed, leaving no readable inscription. And yet here we are. Standing at this particular point in cosmic time, looking up, there is something worth sitting with in the weight of that position. Not despair, not defeat, but something closer to the particular clarity that comes from understanding exactly how improbable it is to be a conscious observer at all. The conditions that permit biology, that sustain a biosphere long enough for intelligence to emerge, that allow a technological civilization to develop and persist to the point of asking these questions, represent an alignment of physical parameters so specific, so finely threaded through the needle of thermodynamic tolerance, that its occurrence at all is mathematically extraordinary. We are not significant because the universe was built for us. We are not precious because some cosmic narrative assigns us a central role. We are significant because the physics of entropy and time make any moment of ordered, conscious complexity genuinely, measurably rare. A low-entropy system capable of modeling the cosmos, asking questions about its own origins, pointing instruments at the sky in search of others like itself, this is not a common thing. The second law of thermodynamics tells us so with blunt, arithmetic certainty. The silence we hear is not the silence of an empty universe. It is the silence of deep time. It is the silence that follows the long, cold settling of a cosmos that burned most brilliantly before we arrived. And in that silence, our current moment of awareness, brief and fragile and surrounded by the dark, carries a weight that no infinite span of future entropy can diminish. We are here, right now, and that is the only physics that currently matters.